Hey guys! So this is going to be the dragon video, and I have a hot beverage here. I'm doing voiceover, so I was originally talking in this video, but it ended up being rambly. Okay, so first thing, I am in a Canon XL sketchbook. It is a 9x12 sketchbook. You can do this on printer paper, as I was doing in my other videos. I just had this sketchbook laying around. I was going to use this Pentel 0.7mm pencil, but I decided to use a Bic pencil instead. Again, you don't need the most expensive art supplies to do this stuff. You just need to have something that works for you. And then I had a Bic round stick pen that I was going to use, but I ended up using a Tombow instead. So, yeah, I'm just talking here about you don't need expensive shit to make art. And my gloves are on again because I'm still dealing with a wrist injury. So, okay, getting started. First I'm going to do a gesture, a quick running line gesture of the form of the dragon, and it's kind of like a wireframe to give me an idea of where I'm going to place everything, and then I'm going to build the box around that and fill that out, and I'll walk you through the steps as I do it. So, yeah, here I go. So yeah, I'm just doing like from the neck, the head of the dragon, and then through the back and down through the tail, because that's the spine. And then I'm just running the legs and figuring out the position of them and the sizing of them. And doing these rough sketches before you go into like figuring out the full anatomy and everything of the dragon is really helpful for placement. And then you can kind of get an idea of the proportions of it. So here I'm putting the box around the torso, and the legs compared to the torso of the dragon should be about equal. In this instance, you can change it. Obviously, this is fantasy. It can be skewed as whatever you want. I'm just trying to give it kind of a realistic proportion, something to give you guys to build off of. And then I put this other box on top, and I'm going to divide that in half in a second. But it's just to show like how far up I want the wing. But the wings are pretty, I'm going to say not arbitrary, but like you can kind of do what you want with the wings. If they don't look right, then redraw them. Bigger or smaller. It's kind of personal preference. And look at animal anatomy in this, like 100%. Look at the way that bats' wings are. Look at birds' wings, that kind of thing. And like look how they connect and stuff. And so that box I just drew on top, that gives me the height of the dragon's neck. And then so I'm also dividing it into threes, as you can see here, and that's about the size of the head. Actually, the head with the horns would be about halfway through that box if you want like that kind of length. It also depends on the type of horns you're drawing. So these ones kind of, they would go to about halfway through that box, the top box, and then I'm just like filling out basic shapes. So like what I just did is I threw in the rib cage. And I know that it's going to have a ribcage. I know there's going to be a pelvis, just for basic animal anatomy of what I understand of basic animal anatomy. And I'm throwing in the shoulder blade here that'll attach onto the wing. And then I'm putting in the forelegs. Look at large cats. Look at dogs and look at bears. If you want like good anatomy or musculature or bone structure for dragons, you can incorporate quite a lot in from those animals, especially large cats, like just the way that their arms are and they're like the musculature in their front legs and chest area. And then I'm just throwing in the directions of the pelvis and like how the back legs would be, and the feet are very stylized. They're quite large and kind of silly looking, but anyways, it doesn't matter. It's a dragon, it's fantasy. Again, these are just like basic guidelines that you can throw down and like for yourself, and you can do whatever you want really, but like if you base it off of like animal structure, you will be able to have it look a little bit more realistic in your sketches. Like obviously this is quite cartoony, but like when I go in and I start adding muscles and stuff and like where certain muscle groups would lie, that's when you'll see kind of like an animal anatomy come through. So I've got this sped up like 2 times. Anyways, So, like, it's wireframe, and then you throw your box down if you want guidelines, but wireframe it and then fill out the volumes of the form, and understanding like basic shapes and stuff. Like, what I'm doing here is I know that the muscles in the neck, they would where they run, and you anatomy on different creatures is kind of the same. It's just skewed slightly for the shapes of the bones. Like, the bones are all the same and the muscles kind of are all the same, they're just in different shapes. So look at those shapes and how they are elongated and stuff like that. So yeah, stuff. So I'm going to do another little mini sketch to the side here, and I'm actually going to grab my pen. This is the Tombow. And like, you really can do these quite fast, and like if you divide it like in thirds like I did there, and then you could divide it in thirds, like the head would stick out 1/3 from the rest of the block, and the tail itself, from the tip of the nose to the hindquarters there, that's how long the tail would be. Now this is just an estimate, and this is kind of like a rule of thumb that I use for my drawings. You don't have to use it, you can figure out your own, but it's just like, that's the basis I use, and then I can modify it from there. And then this is a little sketch if you wanted to like modify the anatomy and do short legs and have the wings attached to the hands, that kind, or the front paws, and like how you can skew the anatomy that way. So it's, again, it's all personal preference, and it's basically trying to, it's a fantasy creature. You can do what you want, but like try to base some of the anatomy in reality. And I'm just saying here, like, make sure that the neck is thick enough to support that head, because it'll look very cartoonish if it's not large enough. So yeah, like, you just want to base everything in reality and like look at animals and how they move and how their muscles are, and then incorporate it into a, like here I'm showing you the length of the tail to the board compared to the body. So you just want to like see, like, compare your animal anatomy to your dragon, and then you can like do your detailing and scales and stuff on the surface, but the underlying structure is what's important here. And I'm hoping this gives you guys a jumping point. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments below. I will do another video on drawing dragons in different poses and stuff like that, and how to do the gestures and then filling out the forms that way. And yeah, I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.